Today we're going to take a look at the C200.
Finally!
Hi, this is JP Morgan.
And this is Kenneth Merrill.
And we've got with us today Julia Nolan.
Hey.
Beautiful woman. We're going to take downtown and check out the C200. So, we're downtown. Here we are. We already arrived.
We've been waiting a long time to get a hold of this camera. It's been ridiculous. It's hilarious that people say we're Canon fanboys because they won't give us a camera.
They weren't giving us this camera, that's for sure.
Right.
Well, lend us. Can we borrow it? Could we hold it?
We didn't even ask. Yeah.
Could we just
Please,
touch
let me
it?
just touch it.
Yeah. But no.
I'm really excited. This seems like a really cool camera. It checks a lot of boxes that the C300 didn't. It shoots 60p in 4K. I think it's like the only camera Canon's ever made that shoots 60p in 4K.
In 4K and 120.
That's not true, actually, but almost.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this camera is it's in an affordable package. It's under $8,000.
Yeah.
So for that kind of serious filmmaker who doesn't want to spend $14,000 or $24,000 or $30,000, you've got a camera that you can do documentary style things with, and even more high-end commercial kind of things because it has a raw, shoots raw, which is fabulous.
Canon's new raw light codec, which I'm really excited to play with. It's great because like Red kind of led the charge on doing compressed RAW, and it's a huge deal because shooting uncompressed RAW in 4K, I mean, our 120 gigabyte card would last 5 minutes. So
even this card in this raw light is only good for like
a lot. 15 minutes for 120 gigabytes.
So Kennett's observation was that with this camera, even though it's under $8,000, you're going to spend $1,000 on
CFast
cards.
If you want to
really
shoot RAW.
want to shoot RAW on this.
Yeah, if you can expect between your batteries and your cards, you can expect to spend about $2,000 more than the body.
So we're going to take it around the city and check dynamic range. We're going to check rolling shutter. We're just going to put it through the paces and see what we got. If there's one thing that these cameras in this kind of class have got to have, and that's a really good dynamic range.
We really want to test out, does it hold the lights, the darks? How does the skin respond to being overexposed or underexposed? And this is a pretty good scene to test on. You have a super bright white building, and then the darker buildings in the background, so let's do it.
But she's still in the same light as the background, so she's kind of in a bright light already. So the dynamic range isn't much. We're going to do this here, and then we're going to run and get another spot where we put her in the shade, and a really bright outside scene, which is very typical. So we'll shoot this, and then we'll go to the next place.
Perfect.
So if you're shooting on the
AVVVV codec?
If you're shooting on the small codec,
yeah,
then the picture profiles kind of make a difference because it's assigning that information. So it'd be nice to know what those do.
Yeah, so I mean, the raw stuff you can always choose in post. I think their program, you just have a drop down and you choose whatever gamma you want. But so nice. It's like shooting a photo.
It is. So nice.
But yeah, if you shoot compressed, you have to bake that in.
Well, let's take a look at these picture profiles.
So Canon is famous for their autofocus systems and their video cameras. They're probably the best out there right now. And so we really wanted to test this. I suspect it'll be about as good as all of their other autofocus cameras, but yeah, we'll see how it holds up. So that's it for shooting. We're gonna take this footage, put together, and have a look at it later. And we'd like to thank Julia Nolan for coming out and modeling for us.
Thank you guys. Follow youtube.com/NolanTwins.
She's a twin. There's two of her.
Two of them.
That'd be worth
Just when you
checking
thought
out,
it couldn't get better.
That's right.
2 for 1.
2 for 1. So let's talk about some of the features on the camera that we've liked. We've been playing with this pretty much for most of the, all the day so far.
All the day so far.
And there's some interesting things about it.
So my biggest thing, coming as a C300 owner, my biggest thing is this whole configuration. I love, so on the C300, your screen and your XLR inputs are all built into one thing, and it just hangs on the cold shoe. and it's always like the screws are always coming loose and it sags because of the weight of the screen, and so then you're like setting up shots and you feel like it's not level because the screen's not level. It was a nightmare. I love this. Like it feels much more sturdy.
It does.
I didn't once notice it sagging or anything throughout the day.
And it comes in or out.
Yeah, it can slide in or out. You can take this whole thing off.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In fact, you can strip the whole camera down to just the
the
body and
which
use
is
it.
great on a gimbal or something like that. It's
Yeah.
fabulous. So I love more than anything for me, I just love the focusing on this. Just even the focusing, the ability to move the square around if you want to be able to find critical focus, if you're doing it manually.
Well,
And
when we were doing those walking shots with her, this screen isn't very bright. It's very hard to see when you're out in the sunlight. And so I couldn't check focus at all. We're shooting on a pretty wide lens, but it is pretty shallow depth of field. I couldn't really see to focus, so I just had the square on her, and I was just trying to like keep it. And it tells you if it's too close or too far. It's a great feature.
Well, let's look at the footage.
Okay.
So we're back in the studio, and we're going to take a look at the footage that we shot of the C200.
Now, there is a note on this. We were really interested in the raw footage from this, and
Way obsessed with the raw footage.
way obsessed. I think it's because I saw when the camera first launched, I saw a ton of the AVC HD footage. I didn't see really any raw footage, so I was like, I want to try this out, especially because I also shoot a red, so I was interested to see just how it felt. So most of the footage here is raw footage. Almost all of the tests. We'll note when it's not. One thing to think about though, and we're going to talk about this as we go, is the raw footage does not have any noise reduction in camera at all. And
well, that's because it's raw footage.
Yeah, it's just the raw data from the sensor. And later on in the video, I'm going to do a little side-by-side to show you with the noise reduction on and off that I applied in post. But a lot of these clips you're going to see don't have any noise reduction applied. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
So they're just the raw clips. You haven't graded these or done anything to them.
So I only graded them, quote unquote, in the sense that I applied a gamma curve.
Okay.
So I used it was actually really convenient because Canon has, so let's start over. There are two ways that you can process the raw footage right now because it won't run native in Adobe.
Yeah.
So you can either use Canon's raw processing software, which I opened up, I watched a whole tutorial on it. It's almost worthless.
Yeah.
The second way to do it is with DaVinci Resolve, which will read the raw files. It'll play them back in real time. My computer's a little old, so it didn't quite make it that fast, but you should be able to play them back in real time. And you can't adjust things you can't adjust the color temperature and stuff, but you can, of course, besides all of their coloring tools, you can download Canon's LUTs and apply the LUTs to the raw footage, and it worked really well.
So basically what we have, when you shoot raw footage, we're getting into the world of workflow intense. This is not a, if you're looking for a run and gun, slap it on a timeline edit, this is not going to be it.
Not at all, not at all. You have to bring it in, you have to choose how you're going to process your raw, what kind of LUT you want to use, and then I exported all these clips individually from DaVinci Resolve to ProRes, and I brought the ProRes into Premiere.
All right, so now that we spent 20 minutes before we even started.
Welcome to RAW.
Evidently.
So the first thing we wanted to test was a rolling shutter. And I like to test a rolling shutter by doing these handheld tracking shots. Because with a DSLR or even some other cameras, there's some Reds and stuff, the jello kind of does this rolling shutter causes this weird jello compression effect. I didn't see much of that here. If you look at it on a really big screen, there might be like a couple moments where it's a little noticeable, but
it looks good, yeah.
It seemed like at least as fast as any other EOS cinema body I've ever used. We did the swish pans.
I like the swish pan because you can just see everything start to, and you're seeing it there.
Yeah, you do see it a little bit.
But not terrible.
It's not terrible. This is on 200 millimeters.
Well, look at that.
You'll definitely see that.
Yeah.
I honestly, VLX is probably the only camera that you can shoot 200 millimeters and do whip pans with. You're never going to do that anyways, so.
It's fascinating. People almost expect the rolling shutter as part of the whip pan. It's just kind of like what it looks like.
Yeah, it is. And I watch professional movies like Michael Bay movies and stuff like that, and you'll see it sometimes. A bus goes by or something, and you see it.
Rolling shutter is a camera geek freak out point. The normal viewer care about rolling shutter.
Probably for the most part, but I do like doing that handheld test because I've shot on my A7S back in the day. I hated doing handheld because you could see the jello. So the next test this is a really big one for me, of course, is the dynamic range test.
Yeah.
So we did
This looks fabulous.
properly exposed, overexposed, and underexposed.
Oh, this is the properly exposed?
This is properly
The
exposed.
color looks really good on these.
I was gonna say, just watching, like when I first opened the footage from this camera, I was blown away by how three-dimensional it felt.
It's fabulous.
The color has so much separation. I did not expect it to look this good, especially coming from the C300. The C300 doesn't look this good to my eye.
No, no, this is incredible.
Oh, and also another note, we did side-by-sides with compressed. So we shot this in RAW, and then we also shot it in the AVC HD.
On this one?
Yeah,
oh,
on
good,
this one.
because I want to see that
yeah.
image in the compressed.
So this is the RAW image, and it's properly exposed by light meter. If you're watching this on a big screen, you will notice a little bit of noise under, like on the shadow side of her dress, under her arm. It goes away pretty significantly with the compressed footage, but the compressed footage, as we watch these, also has slightly different color look.
It does.
So here's 2 stops overexposed.
The compressed footage is a little more crunchy and a little more, the color is a little more poppy, isn't it?
I think the raw is processed a little green.
Okay. But that's pretty impressive that that's the compressed Kodak and you're moving at 2 stops.
Yeah.
It's looking really good.
I totally thought that this would not hold at all.
Yeah, you'd think it would start to fall apart.
It looks almost identical.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know, you probably wouldn't know that it wasn't the raw. And again, like the noise does go away a little bit. At the 2 stops over, the image is super clean. I noticed that. You don't have any of that noise under her arm.
In the raw.
In the raw even. So we go 2 stops under on the next shot. And even though we're on a tiny laptop screen, I think you'll be able to see, in the shadow side of her dress, you can see the noise.
Oh, yeah.
And then the back of this building.
Well, you sure can.
The building back here turns super like green.
Yeah. Boy, and that cleans it all up when you go to
the compressed. It's pretty cleaned up. I still see some.
Yeah, no,
it's
you
not
do.
quite as like colorful, but that made me feel like if you're gonna shoot this camera, expose it like you would film. That is, give it way more light, because it's very difficult to push. Even 2 stops in post looked too noisy for me.
Yeah.
Our meter on the camera, we were constantly, 1 or 2
overexposed.
stops over, and that's
Yeah.
when it looked the best. That's when it turned out the best. So just keep that in mind. An alternative is you could just set your ISO to 400, so that you're exposing automatically by a stop more, and that would probably try to help you out also. So here's our second sort of informal dynamic range test. There's nothing scientific about this. We didn't even use a meter. We just thought, can we put her in the shadows and save the highlights?
And you got bright highlights behind her.
We got really bright highlights behind her, and it saved them for the most part. We did one where we bumped up the exposure, so it was more exposed for her, and the highlights still held. There's almost no difference between the two. The only thing is you see a little more clipping in like the Disney Concert Hall building.
So which is which here?
So this is exposed darker. The first one is exposed darker. And if you look really close, you can see some of the noise in the shadow on her dress.
Yep.
And then you go to this one, and the noise was cleaned right up. Again, it's hard to see on this monitor. And I feel like you hardly lost anything in the highlights.
Yeah, no.
So again, just expose for the shadows, because
Well, I wish we had
I feel
done
like
the
you can
compressed
hold-
in that situation.
yeah,
there.
that would have been good. So when you shoot RAW, you choose your gamma later. You can choose a LUT to view in camera, so you're not seeing a super flat image. But when you're shooting the compressed format, you choose your gamma in camera. Everything's baked in. And we want to compare the standard
different
to the
profile.
wide dynamic range to the Cinelog and everything. I think I goofed a little bit, because the color options, you can shoot in Cinegamut or Rec 709 or Rec 2020 color. And I think they're separate, and I forgot to change the color option to Rec 709. So the color's a little funky on this, but you'll still see the dynamic range difference. So here's the standard. The clouds are totally blown out. The side of her face is totally blown out. Her hair's... I don't know why anybody shoots in this kind of profile. I honestly don't know why they include it in the camera, because to me it just looks like garbage. But you'll see when we move even just to the next lowest gamma, the wide dynamic range, instantly you have all the detail in the clouds, and nothing on her face is clipping
So much better to work in a wide dynamic range.
For me,
that should be their standard.
Exactly. For me, it's a great place to start. Even if you're doing
Sure.
like a really quick turnaround, just shoot in wide dynamic range and you get almost everything you need.
Now Canon Log, the C Log, right?
Yeah, the Canon Log is really flat, and this is their older Canon Log too. I think it's only like 11 or 12 stops. It significantly brings down the highlights, so it can seem a little dark. And then Canon Log 3 is the most flat that you can do in camera.
Now, wide dynamic
super
range is a
flat.
great go-to if you're just shooting, running and gunning
Absolutely.
and shooting. It's a great place to go.
I shot something a couple days ago with a C100, and I shot in wide dynamic range because it's captures almost everything you need. It's great for a starting point. Here's just graded, so I graded all these to kind of match. The standard, again, I didn't grade that at all because it's
The
already
highlights
there.
are peeking on her face, and it's
Super
dark.
crunchy.
Yeah.
Now, if we go to the graded Canon Log 3, you have all that detail, so you can bring all that color out and bring the contrast you need, but you still retain all of the detail in her forehead and things like that. But funny enough, comparing that to the wide dynamic range, it almost doesn't really look any different.
About the same.
And this is a high contrast scenario. Like, we don't have a bounce board or anything.
No.
This is direct sun on her face.
Direct sun, deep shadows, and you got hot cement on the ground below and the bright white clouds in the background.
There's almost no appreciable difference after you grade it, which makes me think, why shoot in C-Log 3?
Yeah, use the wide dynamic range, which gives you a beautiful image.
I'm absolutely sure that there are certain circumstances you'd want to.
Oh, sure.
I think that the cinegamut colors don't work as well with the wide dynamic range because your gamma's not flat enough to really capture all the colors in the right way. So if you want that broader color space, I think you have to shoot with a Canon Log 3.
So it would have been interesting in that scene where she's back in the shadows and you got that blown out Disney concert hall in the background.
That would have been
Would have been
interesting.
interesting to see that on the wide dynamic range, if it holds that and how it does.
Totally. Alrighty, so the really cool thing about this camera that the C300 doesn't do is 60 frames per second 4K.
4K. Looks great.
I love this shot because it demonstrates exactly what I was saying earlier, where the colors just pop.
It's
like
beautiful.
she's just jumping out of the screen. You do, again, see a little bit of that noise under her arm, especially if we go back. You see some of this noise under her armpit.
It's very noisy under her armpit.
Really noticeable, especially if you're not looking at a 15-inch match.
This is in RAW, right?
This is in RAW, so this has no noise reduction applied.
But you said
And
that
we're
was
ISO
easy to
800.
clean up when you put the noise reduction on it.
Yeah, so I use Neat Video, and I just threw it on. It cleaned right up. It takes detail out of the image,
This looks really cool.
obviously.
And she's walking
But,
and her hair's blowing, the 60 frames.
Yeah. Finally, Canon. Finally did it.
Well,
4K 60
I'm
frames.
even more in love with the 120 frames and 1080p.
The 120
because
frames is pretty cool.
That's really
Yeah.
slow motion looks. I think slow motion looks best at 120 frames.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I think it really gives you. I love this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember when we were shooting it, I was thinking, oh, that looks fabulous.
60 frames.
60
raw.
frames, beautiful.
You're not going to see. The only thing with 120 is so you can only do 120 frames in 1080p
Yep.
in your compressed format.
Can't do
So
it on
you're,
your raw.
you're jamming a lot of frames into 150 megabits per second, which means each frame is going to come out with a lot less information. And you can already see it. To my eye, you can already see it as soon as it comes up.
Feels very crunchy. It's
The
like
colors
color
are have less tonality.
When you say crunchy, in my mind, it looks very contrasty. Like,
Yeah.
you got deeper shadows on the side of her face. We're losing the highlights in the background.
I think a lot of that is just the LUT.
And it could be also this lighting scene we're in as well.
Yeah, because we shot pretty flat. When I was grading this, it doesn't start out crunchy. I just kind of threw the LUT on there to get this out of the door. So I wouldn't worry about the dynamic range too much, but her skin feels a little more flat. Like the color is a little more flat, and there's less color separation. But it's 120 frames. And it still looks really good. And I don't see any banding in the sky.
Or across that gray building, or
Yeah, you don't see too much. There's a tiny bit. This is one shot where you do see something. So in the dress, see how it goes like, shadows and highlights and stuff as it switches back and forth, and you can see this muddy green sort of stuff. You can see it down here on her lower back. that happens when you have really compressed footage.
It looks a little bit, it's just a little bit active in the shadows too.
But it's, I mean, to me, it's pixel peeping. Like, if you're shooting an interesting video, if you're not shooting this video that we're shooting right now, then nobody's going to notice.
Interesting video. No one will notice on this unless you're really looking. I mean, her walking and, yeah.
The frame, I mean, the motion looks amazing. But, I mean, as we were discussing earlier, after looking at this 150 megabit stuff, if you're, I don't know, it seems really good to me. I expected when I threw these LUTs on and stuff, I expected it to look much worse than the RAW, and it looks barely different.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Now, this is fun, the autofocus test, because this was incredibly, well, unexpected for one. It's just really smooth.
So this is 200 millimeters, right? At like an f4, I think. And
show me a focus puller. I'm sure they're out there that could do that.
They're out there. I'm not one. I couldn't do it that well.
That's really hard.
It was amazing. I was totally blown away.
I mean, it just stays right on her. And,
yeah.
And you even have the ability where when she got to one point, you could touch and you could slow it down where it then pulls the focus back to somebody behind her. Or, you can do that.
Yeah, so you have the face detect and then you have the touch screen option. So you can choose like a zone that you can move with your finger, or you can just have it detect your face. It's really flexible, really great. The thing I like it for, honestly, it sounds really dumb, but is if I'm the only person doing an interview, I don't want to be behind the camera because I need to talk to the person to have the right eye line, right? So it'd be nice to just set the autofocus to their face, and then if they lean in or lean out,
it stays with them.
I've never trusted it quite enough to do that.
It does sound a little scary, if they lean up here and it loses them or something. But you know what? It's usually just little. They're just kind of rocking a little bit,
I imagine we're getting to the point where you could probably trust it.
I think so.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the noise reduction. So this was the shot where I saw the noise the worst.
She walks into the shadows.
She walks into the shadows, and if we pause here,
well,
it's crazy. Her dress is like totally alive.
Yeah, it looks like it's at 64,000 ISO.
Yeah, it's really bad. It was honestly surprising how noisy it was.
This is the raw footage.
Yeah. I contacted the guy we rented the camera from late last night. I sent him a text. I said, hey, we're noticing like a ton of noise in the footage. Have you noticed anything? Have you there's a black balance option in the camera that I've never used because I've never had an issue like this with a C300 or C100 or anything. Probably should use it, maybe. I don't know. I talked to him and he said, they shot a few days ago with it after we had it, and they didn't notice any of the noise issues. And he only shoots compressed, though. He doesn't shoot the raw. So that made me think that this is kind of just a raw thing because there's no noise reduction applied.
Well, it's probably by virtue of raw, it gives you everything and more. But now you go in and you start throwing out stuff. And I think we're looking at raw photographs. It's really not a true rendition of what you're going to get. And so but it really does go alive.
It's pretty crazy. So
I wish I'd shot the compressed.
I know, we should have, because that would have been a good test. We were tight on, and we're not supposed to be shooting at the Disney Concert Hall anyway.
Not really.
Anyways, so I put some noise reduction on this. I just threw Neat Video, which is the best noise reduction software I found, and it honestly completely wipes it out.
It does.
Even on like a bigger screen, you can't see it. It looks really great. The only challenge is noise reduction does decrease your resolution because it's like applying a softening filter to the whole image. Yeah. So the next few shots have the noise reduction on them. You can't see any of the noise in the shadow anymore and stuff. But I just put it on like full blast, just the sort of default settings.
And what are we looking at here? What is this?
So these are just shots we've seen before
with noise reduction
applied.
On them.
So in this shot when she raises her arm up and you see underneath her armpit,
you don't have that.
The noise is gone.
Yeah.
So you can totally get rid of it. I could have even dialed this in more so we could keep a little more detail on like the road and stuff. Or you can just throw it on full blast and it looks pretty beautiful to my eye, actually.
Yeah, it does.
It's just one more step if you're going to shoot raw. You have to consider that.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful
one more
image.
step. So the ISO test.
ISO test.
The thing I immediately noticed is shooting at ISO 400, it looks really clean. I think, personally, you could shoot everything at 400, and you'd have cleaner shadows. You wouldn't have to worry as much about the noise reduction. and you'd still have plenty of dynamic range.
That's a great place to work
That's
for
my
me.
feeling.
400, especially if you're working outside.
Yeah.
If you're on set, it might feel a little low, but it's not terrible.
Lars says when he shoots the C300 now, he always shoots at 400. Because he says
And it's 800s. It's native.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be my choice. I think I would shoot at 400 ISO all the time. It looks super clean, and I think you have all the dynamic range you need because this camera has pretty amazing.
This is graded raw footage.
Yeah. So this is just has the wide dynamic range LUT applied to the raw.
Okay, because
So
the blacks aren't going crazy or anything.
Yeah, you can see it more on a bigger monitor at 1600. Like, look at her dress here.
So back at 400 into 800, it was fine. 1600 is starting to be on the edge, but when you go to 3200, it started to really.
I wish we had shot the compressed footage on this ISO test. I totally meant to, but it was at the end of the day and we just didn't think about
I
it.
wish we had to.
My feeling is that with the compressed footage, you could probably easily get up to 1600. And if you're shooting in a low light situation, I wouldn't even bother shooting log. Just shoot straight wide dynamic range because that'll be the most clean.
Yeah.
But I would probably use between 400 and 1600, especially if you might need to use a little noise reduction for the raw.
Well, let's go on to the next one here. So I love this. This is a C200.
So the camera you've been shooting everything on for like 2 years now is the A7R2.
It is. And the A7S.
And the A7S.
Still back at
and
the A7S.
so we did kind of a side-by-side where we just grabbed the A7R2 and shot some internal. Now this is a little unfair because this is raw footage versus the internal A7R footage. But here's the C200. Here's the A7R2. Little different framing, but
wow, it looks awful.
It looks awful. Finally, I have proof.
It looks awful.
And then back to the C200 for this shot.
It's like the highlights posterize.
Yeah.
They just
Granted, if you shot an S-Log, that wouldn't happen.
That's true.
Or maybe if you really massage one of their other little picture profiles, because you can adjust like the knee and the gamma and everything, it probably wouldn't happen. I think even just aside from the crunchiness and the gamma and stuff, my personal opinion is that the color on this camera, it feels so much more natural to me. Like her blonde hair looks blonde, not golden.
It looks very golden. And her hair just looks kind of pasted. The shadow, at least the highlights just have this kind of posterized look to them.
And her skin retains some of that like magenta. It's not overly done like I see on a lot of Canon footage.
Yeah, it's not like some of it.
It's not super magenta.
No, which is really nice.
But it's not just
so this
sort of brown
A7R2
yellow.
is not a great B camera for this.
Probably not. Probably it might.
So
be
what is a great B camera for this? Another one?
Another one.
Of course.
You could probably you might be able to get away with the C100 Mark II if you just need 1080. Other than that, just another one. If you need that 4K, just another one.
Just another one.
The noise surprised me a little bit in the RAW. I wish we'd shot more compressed so I could get a better sense of what it looks like if you're shooting the compressed format and you're not having to do all the processing yourself. But the camera just looks so good that it didn't even bother me. It's like, okay, there's noise, I can take care of that. But the colors just looks so good.
Fabulous.
I didn't think I would say that. I honestly didn't think I would love this camera that much. I didn't think it would look that good. But wow, it totally blew me away.
So what might be interesting maybe in our next lesson is to look at, and you mentioned this, looking at the C200 versus the Raven.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
So look at those two raw formats.
Because they're both compressed raw formats. The Red has the advantage that you can just cut Red footage in your timeline.
Yeah, which is so nice.
And then you can do all the adjustments and stuff in your timeline. But at the same time, I would love to see the differences in color out of the box. Which one looks more pleasing? Which one has a better starting point?
Yeah. For me, ease of use of this camera. I found it much easier to use than the C300.
Really?
Personally, I did. And maybe I'm just getting used to it. I don't know.
There are definitely things about it that I like better than the C300.
Yeah.
I would say almost everything about it. I think the image looks better than the C300.
Image looks a lot better. The slow motion looks great. The RAW is fabulous to have, because if I'm shooting a commercial or something, I'll shoot it in RAW. But if you're doing documented kinds of things, you're going to want to go back to the compressed because it's just...
And another thing on that note is the C300 footage is so heavy. I don't know why, because it's, 400 megabits per second isn't crazy, but anytime I cut it, it just chugs my system down for some reason. I didn't have the issue with this footage because it's much more light, but I also didn't feel like I was losing that much in terms of image quality either. And it really made me wonder, like, you look at 150 versus 400 megabits per second, think, oh, that's like almost 3 times the data, but I felt like either the compression's better with this or something, because to my eye it doesn't look
You're not seeing it
worse, really, than the C200. So throwing that out there. I can say this stuff now that I sold mine.
Yeah, now that you don't own a C300 anymore.
Yeah.
Now you can bag on it. Well, I think this is a fabulous camera that really hits a price point in the market that is so attractive to people right now. And every camera company is trying to hit this price point, somewhere in that $7,000 to $8,000 range, to give you a really robust camera that you can do cinema kind of work with and documentary kinds of work with. And young filmmakers or even aggressive filmmakers that just want the ability to shoot 2 or 3 cameras. You get into it for 2 cameras for the price of a C300 almost. So.
And I mean, my only hesitation shooting this was, oh, well, there's, just this super heavy RAW codec or that really lightweight codec that probably can't do anything, doesn't look any good. And I was totally rebutted, because that lightweight codec looks amazing. I would not hesitate to shoot, documentaries and stuff on that, or even corporate videos, training videos, all those.
Oh, training videos, all
totally,
those, absolutely.
I would shoot almost anything on that compressed codec, and then you have the RAW option if you want to go out and do your, feature film or $100,000 commercial or whatever.
There you have it. So anyway, fabulous test. It was great to look at, and finally, I'm excited to have seen it.
Yep.
I'm probably going to buy one, actually. So keep those cameras rolling.
Keep on clicking.
Subscribe to the Slanted Lens, like all my buddies here did. You could come and hang out with us. We have a wild time together, me and my buddies here, my Dominican buddies. We have a great time together, so come and join the Slanted Lens. Subscribe. You can be friends with us too.